An exploding movie theater. Okay, we can give this one a shot. Okay, so for the first episode of my Art Tangent series, I'm going to take on a request from a fellow named Chris for his series called Clarity Girl, and in it he wants a shot of a movie theater exploding during the daytime. I was able to clarify daytime, nighttime after the comment thread, because that's a big thing, because usually when I think explosions, I think of nighttime. So here I have a document set up in Clip Studio Paint that are to the dimensions that he uses for his comic book prints. So usually what I do is I kind of Bob Ross my technique. So that means I start with the furthest most out element and work my way back in. So first I try to think of what would be a good daytime sort of sky color. So I usually think of something like that, but as you ascend into space, it tends to get a little darker. And I tend to push things closer to the blue. I may or may not continue talking throughout all of this. Whoopsies. See, I didn't have the right swatch there. Alright, so we gotta try that again. Nothing too fancy. It's a little too dark for the day. Let's lighten it up just a smidge. There we go. That works. I tend to push things a little bit more purple too when I do mountains, which are usually the next on my list. So again, I'm just going from the furthest most out element and working my way in. I don't know. I think this could use some clouds. I think it could use some clouds. It's a little too fuzzy for clouds, isn't it? Let's go with a darker pencil. Darker means harder. And let's go ahead and put those clouds on their own layer. Yeah, that's the big difference between, say, painting physically and painting digitally, which is what gives a lot of artists beef with people that do things digitally, is that I can Control-Z anything. How's it really art if you can't make mistakes? Well, I do make mistakes, you know. There are times after I've finished a piece and I take a look at it and I think it looks like utter horribleness. Okay, so those clouds look a little sharp. You can smudge them up a bit. There we go, soften those edges. You can soften inside the clouds too. And the reason why I put the clouds on a different layer is that I didn't want to be messing around too much with the gradient of the sky. But there are some times I think messing with the gradient of the sky is a good thing. Okay, so we got some clouds. Now we have to design this movie theater. Now, I've already implied a horizon line out here. so we know that we're going to be looking down on this thing. This is where the tools of Clip Studio Paint come in really handy, because it has a built-in perspective ruler. I don't know, 1 point or 2 point? Let's go with 2 point. Oops. Sometimes I like to take these vanishing points and move them out. Because you almost never have such harsh perspective unless you're going for a fisheye lens. Oopsies. And I'm trying to kind of line up these guides to where I think the building should be. From this point on, I might be just outlining. So let's grab my pencil tool again. Let's go ahead and make a nice dark gray. And these are just going to be my guides while I work on this theater. Nice small brush again. Oops, I'm drawing directly on the ruler. That's not good. Alright, there we go. Let's go ahead and darken that up a little bit. There we go. Blocking a nice shape. Now, in my experience, movie theaters tend to be big, boxy, ugly things. Some movie theaters are fun and look like a work of art. Others, not so much. I want to go to that vanishing point. There we go. Figure we can have a sign here that says movies. Stick in the box office over here. Lines up very nicely at the horizon line there. That's kind of a fun accident. Let's go ahead and push that out all the way. Movie theaters tend to have really big entrances, right? Now, it's important to note I'm doing this without a reference. I highly recommend actually doing a little bit of research beforehand on what a movie theater looks like and then going off of that. But sometimes when I look for a reference, I get really lazy and I just trace. Not very artistic. Workable though, but I feel like I'm cheating when I do that. Let's add in a sidewalk. Yeah, for my head, I'm kind of going off of the local movie theater I have here in my hometown. That one tends to be a big, ugly box. Little emergency exit out there. It's a little too small by comparison to the actual front door, so let's go ahead and start that again. There we go. No longer have to crouch to get out. There also tends to be a wall of preview posters for upcoming films or films that are currently out. So go ahead and put in a light fixture here. While we're at it, why don't we put in a planter there, because I don't think this property would allow itself to just be one giant featureless thing. Let's go ahead and put movie times up there. Oopsies. Now, of course, the mission statement here was draw it exploding, right? You know, and you can tell I haven't done anything to blow up the place. And that's because I'm going to paint the explosion over it later. And I want to preserve this outline so I can use it for the other shot where the movie theater is intact. So I guess the comic creator in question is portraying some sort of terrorist bombing. That'd be my guess. Okay, so we have a giant movie thing here. Probably have a logo there of some kind. Turn into a Tron building for just a second. Okay, so here we are, we're getting closer to something that looks like a functional structure of some kind. So we're getting closer to the point where I can feel comfortable inking this over and actually building this illustration. Now, most of my life experience comes from living in a suburban area, so much of my life I've lived around 1 to 2 story structures, right? You know, seeing an 8-story structure is considered, ooh, wow, fascinating. So you'll notice that I don't have any set up for a big city in the background. I didn't know to ask. If it comes to that, I can add something in. But from my life experience, things are flat, except for, you know, the distance of the mountains that people build around. Alright, so kind of have a void out here, but this is where the parking lot would be, right? You know, so I guess we could have a little crosswalk section here. Oopsies. And even though it is the parking lot, I've seen a lot of movie theaters put in dividers, that way people know to drive on the left or right side of the road when picking up their friends, family members. You know, a movie theater can be a pretty busy place, especially with huge releases, right? So, okay, so in this shot, it doesn't look like I'm going to have too many cars in the shot, which is fine and dandy by me. I hate drawing cars. I think a lot of people do. But then again, we all have our weaknesses. For me, it's cars and horses. Don't ask me to draw a car. Don't ask me to draw a horse. I can draw a building just fine. Okay, so looks like we have a pretty handy-dandy structure here. Let's go ahead and start inking this bad boy up. Go ahead and name this the Theater Inks. Okay, that's a really big brush. Let's go ahead and there we go. It's still about double the normal. Let's go ahead and down to 10. There we go. I like to add these little bevels. I mean, I'm drawing with such a thick pencil brush anyway that I usually use it as implications of a bevel. See, how it adds a little bit of depth to the structure. Let's go ahead and do the outline of this thing first. Oops, a little too far there. Yeah, computer logic, you can erase ink. It doesn't work like that. I know. If I breathe a little heavily while I do this, it's because I concentrate and I feel like I need to breathe in through my nose and exhale through my mouth. Of course, now that's making me think of the chocolate rain meme. Is that still a thing? I'm old. Now, this program does feature an ability to turn off various vanishing points and guidelines. That way you don't have that mistake happen, but I just figure, just make another stroke. It's not a big deal. Because I'm working digitally, I'm probably just going to grab the text tool and just slap a logo in here. And this will say movies, and this will have some made-up logo. Some lame corporate identity. Where they make sure everything is boring. Again, add a little bit of a bevel. Now, I did ask how many casualties should be featured in this explosion shot. And the fella said 0, right? Because one of the things I was considering was just because you're inside the theater doesn't mean there's no one outside the theater. I mean, they're still trying to catch their particular film of preference, right? So I figured there might be a line at the box office, but I'm going to go ahead and forego putting people there just for the sake of being nice and giving everyone a lucky pass. Or at least everyone on the outside a lucky pass. I mean, obviously, the inside the theater is a different story. Something like a desk so you can put down your credit card, some cash. A big thing about my style of artwork is that I like to imply. I don't feel the need to draw in detail. Though I'm certainly jealous of the people that seem to imply better than I do, right? And for me, sometimes it just feels like a trick to have a 3D structure that's easily recognizable. Alright, let's go ahead and do this door first. It doesn't look like that line was going to where I was anticipating it going. Here we go, let's fix that. Oops. There, I just demonstrated why most artists disregard digital artwork. Oops, oops, oops. That did not go. There we go. Nope. There we go. Nope. Nope. There we go. Just adding a slight bevel there just to imply that we're looking at this doorway from an angle. You know, I have a bevel over here, bevel over there. It applies pretty nicely, I think. Alright, so then we still have these movie posters here. And we still have this side of the wall. Let's go ahead and complete this side of the wall. I suppose one joke you can make about this theater that I'm drawing is that they have a very good and regimental staff that has picked up all the garbage. I have never seen a movie theater audience that hasn't dumped everything on the floor. I feel like I'm the only one that dumps anything in the trash can when I go. Which is a shame because I like going to the movie theater. I like going to the theater for a big picture, and then going home for a small picture that's cozy. I don't believe in the gigantic home theater system. If I'm waking up the neighbors, I'm doing something wrong. That's my philosophy. Chin. It's pretty hairy, it's got a beard, so pretty sure that sounded distressing. Alright, this lamp fixture is out in front, so let's go ahead and knock that out first before tackling the rest of the theater. Little Harry's being stubborn. Let's go ahead and turn off the ruler, and I can just because that's a tough part about the Clip Studio paint rulers, is that they are very magnetic. They just grab your brush and do whatever. So sometimes I have to turn them off when I want to do something a little bit more roundy in a perspective shot like this. And I just kind of trust my instincts when it comes to doing a small detail like that. I mean, another part that kind of frustrates me is that I'm locked in this 2 perspective shot. I can't put in, like, say, an angled sign here. I mean, I could draw one in and I can kind of guesstimate where it is, or I can just reshape where the vanishing points go. But, you know, I'm trying to do this on the quick. Oops, see, that's what happens when I don't turn it back on. Alright, there we go. When it comes time to actually color this in, I'm going to put in some plant structures in that little planter over there. Plant structures. Plants! I'm putting plants there. There we go. Plant structures. New plant-based alien threat on StarCraft. Again, just kind of imply a structure. You don't actually have to put one there. My intention was that this would be more movie theater, but I think I'm going to leave that section alone because it already looks pretty big. I imagine this would look like about a 8 theater building, perhaps. You know, if it goes that way. Of course, it would also mean it was really long in one direction, but yeah, I'll live with it. I'll live with it. That was a cardinal sin. Never ever use 2 strokes to finish one line. I'm gonna do a little something weird here. I'm just gonna kind of leave that area alone because I'm gonna draw in a dip. You know, because I'm pretty sure this theater would be accessible for the disabled. So, turn that off. You know, you want to be able to get your stroller and your wheelchairs up, right? That one's a bit of a mean dip. There, let's make that a nicer dip. There. Okay, so it looks like we have a workable theater here. Turn off the ruler, let's take a look at that. Yeah, I could use Just a touch of cleanup here with an eraser. That's a big eraser. There we go. And the way you shape your lines also kind of implies structure, I find. So I think we're already at a good spot to start coloring this in. Let's go ahead and just mess with this door just a little bit. I don't like having gaps in my ink work. Because as you're about to see, I get really lazy with my coloring and I just kind of paint bucket everything in. And you'll see, you go, where was the gap? And I closely look at the lines and go, eh. That was not the right tool. There we go. Okay, there's a gap. Okay, I think we're almost at a good point here to start drawing things in. Looks like I see another gap. Alright, let's start putting in some color here. Now, for the road, or the parking lot I should say, let's go ahead and just refer to other layers. Boom. Alright, cool, that looks good. And let's go ahead and let's bring back up the perspective ruler. Let's turn this down just a smidge. Let's turn on the, there we go. Now cities tend to use white paint, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of imply that it's kind of beat up, so I'm going to use a softer styled brush here. Let's see how that looks. Oops. There we go. That's a little too... There we go. I think that's wide enough for a lane. Let's go ahead and make another layer for our theater itself. Oops, let's go ahead and turn off that. There we go. My experienced theaters try to kind of be warm looking. So we're going to start with that as a base. And go with a red trim, perhaps. Yeah, that looks fun. Let's go back to the base color. Now you'll notice that there's actually a gap in my structure here. I'll go back and fix that in a moment. I'm not too worried about it right now. There's my itchy chin again. Now for myself, I've learned to feel free to reuse certain palette colors. Not everything has to be a new color for each individual segment, and I've noticed some people get trapped into thinking that they have to come up with a new color for every single piece in a scene. And let me tell you, that's just disastrous. Okay, I'm going to use just a straight up line there. Oops. Let's go ahead and Is it really important that these movie posters be filled in with anything specific? Not really. I'm just going to be lazy here. I'm Mr. Adventure Face. I'm going to turn off the perspective ruler so I can actually work on this. There we go. I imply the human form. And let's have a couple of people in this one. Not sure what this movie would be, but then again, I don't know what any of these movies are. I'm sure someone in this world would love them. Just in kind of implying writing here. Let's go ahead and start patching this one up. Let's go ahead and use this for the outside trim. There we go. See, I told you to get to it. we're running almost an hour here, so I'm going to try to wrap up. No, I didn't want that. I just wanted the color sampler. There we go. Okay, so we have that. Let's go ahead and grab that color again. For other layers. Boom. Bam. Thank you, ma'am. There we go. Let's put on our road again. Okay, so we're almost at a point where I'm okay with this. Next, I'm going to have to add just a little bit more plants. As I said, there would be a planter there. And then I'm going to have to do some shading. So first, let's go underneath the layer, because this is what, again, drawing digitally has over, say, painting physically, is that Bob Ross would have already had the plants there, right? But I'm going to go ahead and go underneath that layer and start adding in some plants. Like a cheating bastard. Now, it's a distance away, so I'm going to add a lot of blue to it. And I have a very distinct brush that I like to use for plants. There we go. Let's go up here. Let's go ahead and grab the angled brush, or the marquee tool. I like the polygonal marquee tool. Planty brush again. Okay, we need to particle size, make it a lot smaller. There we go. And just a smidge of volume to it. There we go. I think that's workable. Let's add a little bit of shading. I like to go with a gigantic what? I like to just go with solid blacks, and then I just cut down the opacity when I'm in a hurry. Let's go with 25% difference. That should be just fine. Let's go and turn on the perspective layer. We're just going to quickly shape this off. Let's go ahead and just do this. Turn off real quick. And because I'm just going to be blowing it up, I don't feel really compelled to put logos in here right now, so let's just go ahead and get to the meat and potatoes, what we all wanted. It was the goddamned explosion. You just spent so much time building it, now would you please blow it up? Okay, so let's do this. Let's go ahead and go with the perimeter of the explosion first. That requires a lot of orange. Let's go with a nice soft brush. Not an airbrush. Yeah, there we go. Helps to do sound effects. Alright, now let's go ahead and grab that airbrush. Spread it out just a little bit. See, I'm just going ahead, just obscuring all the hard work I just did. Alright, insides of the explosions tend to be a bit more yellow. And let's go ahead and futz with this a little bit with the smudge tool. Yeah, these quick slices tend to add a bit of velocity, I find, whereas slow ones tend to let the fire kind of lick around. Movie theater on Main and 6 exploded in an orange ball of flame today. Luckily, no one was harmed. We'll add more of the yellow. Let's go ahead and add the inside of this. Get my smudge tool again. Let's add just a smidge of debris. A little darker. Something got twisted and mangled in the explosion there. Explosions are no joke. You witness something like a fuel refinery explode from about the better part of a mile away, and that shockwave is going to push you over. So I imagine if there are cars parked in this parking lot, and there likely are, all their windows are being blown out or shattered or rattled. Explosions are no joke. Yeah, we put them everywhere in our movies. We like a good light show. Especially Americans. I mean, Jesus. 4th of July, anyone? Celebrate the birth of your nation by blowing up a piece of it. Debris over there too, just to add some. Now what's kind of fun is that this was almost a 2-in-1, because he wanted a shot of the movie theater before it exploded and a shot of it as it exploded. So what's fun is that all I have to do is give him that. So we have 1, 2. Alright, I'm going to wrap this up for right now. I'm going to save this. Save this as the editable Clip Studio format. This was my first episode of my art program. I'm hoping to have a near daily upload, at least during the weekdays. I might slow down to as little as 3. I haven't really decided yet. But I'm going to try for daily uploads. Alright, let's go PNG this. Yes, let's replace that. Alright, we're good. Alright, so thank you very much, and go ahead and click like and subscribe if we're going to have a lot more of these in the future. That screen totally went black there. Okay, so again, click like, subscribe, see more of these in the future. More to come on my ongoing animated series, The Grafted. Alright, thanks. Have a nice day.